The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It remained silent for 3 days while governments around the world tried to make contact. Dr. Jiwoo Park watched from the observation deck of the International Space Station, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. "They're finally responding," said Captain Donghae, handing her the communication device. Jiwoo took a deep breath. As Earth's leading xenolinguist and newly appointed ambassador, the responsibility of first contact rested on her shoulders. Her 12-year-old daughter Mina stood beside her, eyes wide with wonder. "This is Dr. Jiwoo Park of Earth. We welcome you in peace," she said into the device. The response came as a series of musical tones and clicks that the translation software struggled to interpret. After several attempts, words began to form. "We are the Galactic Concordiat. Your world has been noticed. Prepare for visitation." 2 weeks later, Jiwoo and Mina boarded a shuttle to the Concordiat's diplomatic station, a massive ring-shaped structure positioned near the moon. They were the first humans invited to meet the alien coalition face to face. "Stay close to me," Jiwoo whispered to her daughter as the airlock opened. "Remember what we practiced." Mina nodded, trying to contain her excitement. "Bow slightly, maintain eye contact but not for too long, and no sudden movements." The reception area was filled with beings of various shapes and sizes. Some floated in the air, others moved on multiple legs, and a few seemed to shift form as they moved. A tall, slender alien with bluish translucent skin approached them. Inside its body, Jiwoo could see organs pulsing with light. "I am High Commander Vexus," it said, the words emerging from a small device at its neck. "Welcome to the Concordiat. Station, humans." Jiwoo performed the formal bow they had practiced. "Thank you for receiving us, High Commander. We are honored to represent Earth. Your species is young," Vexus noted, leading them through corridors lined with strange technology. "Most civilizations require thousands of years to develop space travel. You have done it in less than 100. Humans adapt quickly," Jiwoo replied with a diplomatic smile. Over the next few days, Jiwoo attended meetings with representatives from the 37 species that formed the Concordiat. She quickly realized that Earth was viewed as a primitive curiosity rather than an equal partner. The alien spoke with thinly veiled condescension about human technology, governance, and culture. During one particularly frustrating meeting, an insect-like representative called Moro clicked its mandibles in what the translator indicated was laughter. "Your species still fights over resources? How quaint." "We are evolving beyond those conflicts," Jiwoo replied calmly. "That's why we're eager to learn from the Concordiat's example." While her mother attended diplomatic sessions, Mina explored the parts of the station deemed safe for visitors. She made friends with Tulo, a young alien whose parents served as cultural attachés. Tulo had 4 arms and skin that changed color with his emotions. "Your station is amazing," Mina told him as they walked through a garden filled with plants from different worlds. "I've never seen anything like this on Earth. The Concordiat has existed for over 10,000 years," Tulo explained, his skin turning a proud yellow. "My species was one of the founding members." "What happens to planets that don't want to join?" Mina asked. Tulo's skin darkened slightly. "They eventually understand the benefits of our protection." On the 5th day, Jiwoo was invited to observe a Concordiat Council meeting. The circular chamber contained representatives from all 37 species, seated according to their status in the coalition. Earth, as a potential new member, was assigned observer status in the outermost ring. "The human delegation will witness our governance process," announced High Counselor Dexus, a crystalline being who seemed to be made entirely of geometric shapes. "This is a rare honor for a species so new to interstellar society." Jiwoo listened, as the council discussed trade routes, resource allocation, and security concerns across thousands of star systems. The meeting confirmed her growing suspicion. The Concordiat was less a partnership of equals and more a hierarchy with the founding species firmly in control. Meanwhile, Mina had become separated from Tulo during their exploration. Curious about a corridor lined with shimmering lights, she followed it to a large chamber filled with strange objects. They floated in containment fields, each one glowing with inner energy. Unable to resist, she reached out toward a small spherical artifact that pulsed with blue light. "Stop!" A harsh voice echoed through the chamber. Two security guards rushed toward her, their weapons drawn. "This area is forbidden." Mina stepped back, raising her hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I was just exploring." "You have entered the Kot, Chamber of Ancestral Memory," one guard said, the translator making his voice sound metallic and angry. "These are the sacred relics of the founding worlds." "I didn't mean to," Mina began, but the guard seized her arms. "The punishment for desecration is severe even for offspring," the second guard stated coldly. Across the station, Jiwoo's diplomatic meeting was interrupted by an urgent message. "Ambassador Park," the aide whispered. "There's been an incident involving your daughter." Jiwoo felt her blood turn cold as the aide explained the situation. She rushed from the chamber, hearing the disapproving murmurs of the alien delegates behind her. All she could think about was reaching Mina before the situation escalated further. She ran through the corridors, her heart pounding with fear. Their Concordiat's laws were ancient and unyielding. She had studied them extensively before this mission. What Mina had done accidentally was considered a serious offense, and the penalty could be severe, even for a child. As she rounded the final corner, she saw Mina surrounded by Concordiat security forces. Her daughter's face was pale with fear. "Please," Jiwoo called out, "there's been a misunderstanding. I'll create a compelling third-person narrative for Part 2, The Incident, focusing on what happens after Mina enters the sacred chamber. This will be written in simple, basic English with no headings as requested." The Concordiat security forces gripped Mina's arms tightly as they escorted her through the gleaming corridors of the station. Her face was pale with fear. She had never seen aliens look this angry before. Their skin colors changed to dark, threatening shades, and some of their translation devices seemed to struggle with the intensity of their words. "Please," she said, her voice small. "I didn't know it was special, I was just looking." The guards did not respond as they brought her to a holding cell. The room was small with a clear force field instead of a door. Mina sat on the bench, pulling her knees to her chest. She had only touched the glowing blue sphere for a second before they caught her. Jiwoo rushed into the security section, her diplomatic badge flashing as she pushed past lesser officials. When she saw her daughter in the cell, she pressed her hand against the force field. "Mina, are you hurt?" "Mom, I'm sorry," Mina said, tears streaming down her face. "I got lost and found a room with pretty lights. I didn't mean to do anything wrong." Before Jiwoo could respond, High Commander Vexus appeared with 4 members of the Concordiat Council. Their formal attire indicated the seriousness of the situation. "Ambassador Park," Vexus said, his voice colder than before. "Your offspring has committed a grave offense against the Concordiat." Jiwoo straightened her back, slipping into her diplomatic role despite her fear. "High Commander, my daughter is a child who became separated from her guide. She wandered into an unmarked room out of curiosity, not malice. In human society, children are not held responsible for such innocent mistakes." Counselor Dexus stepped forward, crystal formations clicking as he moved. "The Chamber of Ancestral Memory is the most sacred place in the Concordiat. The artifacts there contain the stored memories and wisdom of our founding species." "I understand the importance," Jiwoo said carefully, "but surely you can see this was an innocent mistake. We have only been on the station for 5 days. We cannot be expected to know all your customs yet." "Ignorance does not excuse desecration," said another counselor, a being with multiple eye stalks. "The law is clear and has been for 10,000 years. Jiwoo felt cold fear spreading through her chest but kept her voice steady. "What exactly does your law require in this situation?" The council members exchanged glances. Vexus's skin darkened to a deep blue. "The penalty for desecration of ancestral artifacts is extraction." "Extraction," Jiwoo repeated, not understanding the translation. "The removal of the offending being," clarified Dexus. "It is unfortunate, but necessary to maintain the order that has kept peace among our worlds for millennia." Jiwoo's diplomatic mask slipped as she realized what they meant. "You cannot possibly be suggesting she's a child," My child, age is not a consideration in matters of sacred law, Vexus stated flatly. For the next several hours, Jiwoo fought, with every diplomatic tool at her disposal. She called emergency meetings, invoked cultural exchange protocols, and even attempted to contact Earth for support. But the Concordiat leadership remained unmoved. This is a test, one sympathetic alien aide whispered to her during a brief break. They want to see if humans will bend to Concordiat authority. Your species is seen as too independent, too quick to advance. Some fear what you might become. Mina remained in the cell, given food and water but no information. Whenever Jiwoo visited, she tried to stay calm for her daughter's sake. Mom, are they going to let me go soon? Mina asked, her voice small. I'm working on it, sweetheart, Jiwoo promised, fighting back tears. Just be brave a little longer. On the third day, Jiwoo was summoned to the council chamber. As she entered, she saw that all 37 representatives were present, a full assembly. Ambassador Park, began High Counselor Dexus, we have deliberated extensively on this matter. While we acknowledge that your offspring's action may not have been malicious, the sanctity of our laws cannot be compromised. Please, Jiwoo said, abandoning protocol. She's just a child. Punish me instead. That is not possible, Vexus stated. The one who committed the act must face the consequences. Then let us leave, Jiwoo pleaded. Banish us from the Concordiat. We will return to Earth and never come back. A murmur ran through the assembly. One of the counselors, a being with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like an Earth chameleon, spoke up. The human makes a reasonable offer. Banishment could serve as a suitable alternative. For a moment, Jiwoo felt hope rise in her chest, but it was quickly crushed by Vexus's next words. No exceptions have been made to sacred law in 10,000 years. We will not begin now, especially for a species so new to the stars. The execution will proceed tomorrow at first light. Jiwoo's legs gave out beneath her, and she collapsed to the polished floor of the chamber. No, she whispered. Please, no. That night, Jiwoo was permitted one final visit with Mina. The guards deactivated the force field to allow her to embrace her daughter. Mom, I'm scared, Mina whispered against her shoulder. Listen to me, Jiwoo said, holding her daughter's face between her hands. I will not let this happen, I promise you. But it was a promise she couldn't keep. Despite her desperate attempts to contact Earth for emergency intervention, the Concordiat blocked all outgoing communications. They allowed her to record a final message explaining what had happened to be delivered to Earth after the sentence was carried out. At dawn, they came for Mina. Jiwoo fought the guards, screaming and clawing until they were forced to restrain her. The last sight she had of her daughter was Mina looking back over her shoulder, eyes wide with terror and confusion as they led her away. 2 hours later, Jiwoo was escorted to a small ship bound for Earth. In her hands, she clutched Mina's favorite, bracelet. All they had returned to her. The Concordiat representatives spoke formal words of regret for the unfortunate necessity, but Jiwoo heard nothing through her grief. As the ship broke orbit from the station, Jiwoo pressed her palm against the viewport, watching the gleaming structure grow smaller. In that moment, something inside her hardened into a cold, terrible resolve. Earth would know what happened here, and the Concordiat would learn that humans did not forgive those who harmed their children. Jiwoo Park's ship landed at the International Space Center in Nevada 3 weeks after leaving the Concordiat station. She had not spoken during the journey home. The crew had tried to comfort her, but her eyes remained fixed on the stars, as if she could still see the place where her daughter had been taken from her. When the airlock opened, she expected to face reporters and government officials. Instead, she found General Hanjin waiting alone on the landing pad. His usually stern face was marked with grief. The entire planet watched your message, he said, helping her down the ramp. Every screen on Earth showed what they did to Mina. And what is Earth going to do about it? Jiwoo asked, her voice hollow from disuse. Come with me, Hanjin replied. They drove in silence to a mountain complex that hadn't existed when Jiwoo left Earth. Armed guards stepped aside as they approached massive steel doors built into the mountainside. Inside, hundreds of people worked, at computer stations and laboratory tables. "We've been busy," Hanjin explained as they walked through the facility. "When your message reached us, something happened that has never happened before. Every nation on Earth united overnight." He led her into a large meeting room where representatives from 50 countries sat around a circular table. They stood as she entered. "Project Nemesis," Hanjin said, pointing to the name displayed on the wall. "Named after the Greek goddess of justice and retribution." "What exactly is Project Nemesis?" Jiwoo asked. A tall man with glasses stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Do-yoon, head of advanced technologies. We've been reverse engineering everything we learned from the Concordiat during our brief contact. They showed us more than they realized." Do-yoon activated a holographic display showing technical diagrams and weapon designs. "We've made 10 years of progress in 3 weeks. Their technology is advanced, but their thinking is rigid. They've used the same systems for thousands of years without much innovation. While you were traveling home, we deployed hundreds of our stealth probes throughout Concordiat space," added Admiral Sunwoo, a woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. "The designs were based on your reports about their sensor limitations." Jiwoo looked around at the determined faces. "What exactly are you planning to do? The Concordiat has 37 species and thousands of worlds. We have one planet and no real space fleet." "That's changing fast," Hanjin said. "But we're not planning a war of ships and soldiers. We're planning something they won't expect." Do-yoon pressed another button, revealing a network of devices placed throughout Concordiat territory. "These are quantum disruption transmitters. Once activated, they will temporarily disable every weapon system in Concordiat space." "How is that possible?" Jiwoo asked. "Their technology relies on quantum entanglement for instant communication across vast distances," Do-yoon explained. "It's elegant, but it creates a vulnerability. Our transmitters can send a disruption signal through the entire network at once. And then what? We still can't fight them all." Admiral Sunwoo smiled grimly. "We don't plan to fight them. We plan to scare them. Humans have always been good at that." Over the next 3 months, Jiwoo worked with scientists and military leaders to prepare Earth's response. She had changed since returning home. The diplomatic idealist was gone, replaced by a woman driven by cold determination. Earth officially withdrew from all contact with the Concordiat. When their ambassadors arrived seeking to normalize relations, they found their ships turned away by a planetary defense shield that shouldn't have been possible for humans to build so quickly. In secret facilities around the globe, engineers constructed ships using modified Concordiat designs. But unlike the aliens' vessels, which had remained unchanged for centuries, the human ships incorporated new ideas and improvements. "They think we're primitive because we haven't been in space long," Do-yoon told Jiwoo as they inspected the first completed vessel. "But that's our advantage. We're not bound by tradition or 10,000 years of doing things the same way." Jiwoo nodded, running her hand along the ship's hull. "When do we make our move?" "The network is almost in place," Hanjin replied. "1 more month." As the deadline approached, Earth's population watched and waited. The story of Mina Park had touched every human heart. Children left toys at makeshift memorials. Artists created images of the girl who had become a symbol of humanity's grief and resolve. On the appointed day, Jiwoo stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, now named Mina's Justice. Admiral Sunwoo sat in the captain's chair beside her. "All ships report ready," Sunwoo said. "The quantum network is online." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "Send the message." Throughout Concordiat space, on every world and ship, all communication systems simultaneously activated. Screens displayed a single image, Mina Park's smiling face taken from her school photo. Below it appeared simple text in the Concordiat's universal language. "You killed our child. We warned you. Run." Within seconds, reports flooded in that the quantum disruption was working. Concordiat defense systems across thousands of worlds went offline. Their mighty warships drifted powerless. For the first time in 10 millennia, the Concordiat was vulnerable. High Commander Vexus was addressing the Council when the message appeared. and the lights in the chamber dimmed. Emergency systems engaged, bathing the room in red light. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown devices have been detected throughout our territory," a subordinate reported, panic in his voice. "They've been dormant until now. Our sensors never detected them." "Impossible," Vexus hissed. "The humans couldn't—" He was interrupted as the main view screen showed a fleet of Earth ships appearing around the Concordiat's central station. Their design was familiar yet different, improved in ways the alien engineers hadn't considered. Admiral Sunwoo opened a channel to the station. "This is Admiral Sunwoo of Earth. Your weapons are disabled, your ships are powerless. The Concordiat, as you know it, ends today." On the bridge of Mina's Justice, Jiwoo stepped forward. "We could destroy you all," she said, her voice carrying to every Concordiat world. "But unlike you, we do not kill without reason. We seek justice, not revenge." The Concordiat would soon learn that humans were unlike any species they had encountered before. When threatened, they didn't cower. When struck, they didn't beg. And when their children were harmed, they became the most dangerous force in the galaxy. The Concordiat Central Station hung in space like a massive jewel, its crystalline structures catching the light of nearby stars. Inside the Grand Council chamber, High Commander Vexus stood before the assembled representatives of 37 species. His skin had paled to a sickly blue-gray as he stared at the message displayed on every screen. "You killed our child. We warned you. Run." "This is a primitive intimidation tactic," Vexus announced, trying to maintain his authority. "Human technology cannot possibly threaten the Concordiat. Our civilization has stood for 10,000 years. Councillor Dexus rose from his crystalline seat. "Then explain why our defense systems are failing across all worlds." Before Vexus could respond, the chamber plunged into darkness. Emergency lights activated, casting red shadows across the alien faces. Fear, an emotion rarely seen in Concordiat leadership, spread through the room. "High Commander," a security officer burst through the doors. "We're detecting thousands of unknown devices throughout our territory. They've been there for months, dormant until now." "How is this possible?" Vexus demanded. "Our detection systems are the most advanced in the galaxy." "The humans," whispered an advisor. "They learned our technology during their brief contact and found weaknesses we never considered." On the observation deck of Earth's flagship, Mina's Justice, Admiral Sunwoo stood beside Jiwoo Park. Through the massive viewport, they watched as Concordiat ships drifted powerless in space, their engines and weapons disabled by the quantum disruption field. "All Concordiat military vessels have been neutralized," reported Captain Jinwoo from his command station. "Their weapons cannot harm us." Jiwoo stared at the alien station where her daughter had died. 6 months of grief and preparation had led to this moment. She touched the small bracelet on her wrist, Mina's favorite, the only thing returned to her after the execution. "Open a channel to the Concordiat Council," she ordered. When the communication link established, Jiwoo found herself facing the same council that had sentenced her daughter to death. They appeared smaller now, less godlike than they had seemed 6 months ago. "This is Dr. Jiwoo Park of Earth," she began, her voice steady. "You may remember me as Ambassador Park. That title no longer applies." "What have you done to our systems?" Vexus demanded. "We've shown you what humans are capable of when provoked," Jiwoo replied. "Your entire defensive network has been compromised. Every weapon in the Concordiat is now under our control." Murmurs spread through the council as this impossible reality sank in. One of the counselors, a being with multiple tentacles, spoke up. "How could your species advance so quickly? This technology should be centuries beyond your capabilities." "You underestimated us," Admiral Sunwoo answered. "Humans can achieve extraordinary things when properly motivated, and nothing motivates us more than the murder of our children." The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in recorded Concordiat history, the Supreme Council looked afraid. "What do you want?" Vexus finally asked, his usual arrogance replaced by caution. Jiwoo leaned forward. The Concordiat as it exists today ends now. Your hierarchical system where founding species dictate to all others will be dismantled. A new council will be formed where all worlds, including Earth, have equal standing. You cannot erase 10,000 years of order, protested Dexus. We can, Sunwoo said simply. And we will, unless you agree to our terms. As they spoke, more Earthships appeared throughout Concordiat space. They had been built in secret during the 6 months since Mina's death, each one incorporating innovations that the tradition-bound aliens had never considered. On thousands of worlds across the galaxy, beings looked up at their skies to see human vessels hovering above their major cities. It was not an invasion, not yet, but a demonstration of how completely their defenses had been overcome. Back on the Concordiat station, the council members argued amongst themselves. Some advocated immediate surrender, while others insisted they should fight even without weapons. We cannot submit to a primitive species, Vexus hissed. They are not primitive, countered another counselor, a being of living metal who had remained silent until now. They have done what no other species has managed in 10 millennia. They have brought the Concordiat to its knees in 6 months. Perhaps we should listen. On the bridge of Mina's justice, Jiwoo waited patiently. Dr. Do-Yun had joined her, bringing updates on the quantum disruption field's stability. The field will hold for another 12 hours, he reported. After that, their systems will begin to recover. They'll make their decision before then, Jiwoo said with certainty. They've never faced this kind of situation before. Their rigid thinking makes them predictable. True to her prediction, the council contacted them 3 hours later. Vexus's image appeared on the main screen, his posture stiff with forced dignity. We have considered your demands, he said. While unprecedented, we recognize the unique circumstances. And, Jiwoo prompted, the Concordiat will agree to restructuring negotiations. Admiral Sunwoo smiled thinly. Wise decision. Representatives from Earth will arrive to oversee the transition. Until then, our ships will remain in position. After the communication ended, Jiwoo stood alone at the viewport, looking out at the stars. A single tear traced down her cheek. We did it, Mina, she whispered. They will never hurt another child. Across the galaxy, beings of all species watched as history changed direction. Stories spread about the humans, a young species who had seemed so harmless until pushed too far. They had not used their advantage to destroy the Concordiat, though they clearly could have. Instead, they demanded justice and reform. The message continued to display on screens throughout Concordiat. Space, you killed our child. We warned you. Run. But the Concordiat had not run, and now they would learn an even more important truth about humans. They valued peace, but never at the cost of justice. In the days that followed, delegations from Earth arrived at key Concordiat worlds to begin the work of transformation. They brought not only diplomats and soldiers but also teachers, artists, and children, showing the galaxy the true face of humanity in all its complexity. And at the heart of it all was the memory of one small girl who had touched a forbidden artifact out of simple curiosity, and in death had changed the course of galactic history. 1 year after the confrontation, a new space station orbited the neutral territory between Earth and the former Concordiat central worlds. Unlike the crystal towers of the old Concordiat station, this one was built in a perfect circle with no part rising above any other. The design was intentional, a physical representation of the equality at the heart of the new galactic order. Jiwoo Park stood at the viewport of her quarters, watching as ships from dozens of worlds arrived for the first official assembly of the Galactic Council. Her hand touched the bracelet on her wrist, Mina's bracelet, which she had not removed since that